Welcome back to CryptosRUs. I'm George. We're all George. So it feels like a Monday, but no, it's Tuesday, and the market open has begun. So let's talk about what's going on with markets, what's going on with Bitcoin and crypto, and is there a major reversal around the corner? So let's talk about all these things and more. And of course, it is September as well. All right, guys, welcome. We're starting out a day at 109.2, 109.3. Not a really good place to be, although it's the same place we were yesterday. Not the worst place, but not the best place either. Overall, from a couple weeks ago, we just kind of been trending downwards, going a little bit lower, but not all hope is lost. There are a lot of great things still going on, but we do have a lot of macro fears right now, which is why the US market, as you can see, is opening up deep in the red. Minus 464 for Dow, minus 400 for NASDAQ. Tech is being sold off, risk on assets being sold off hardcore right now. Nvidia down almost 3%, Robinhood down almost 6%, Coinbase down 3%, MicroStrategy down about 0.5% right now at open. So a lot of fear right now, okay? And a lot of it has to do with now this. I mentioned how the appeals court struck down the tariffs, and I didn't even know this. If the Supreme Court, right, rules against it, the U.S. actually has to return all the tariff money. They can't just like, oh, okay, sorry, and they get to keep all the tariff money. No, they would have to return it all. So that would be bad. That would be really bad. So I don't know how long this process is going to take to go to the Supreme Court and be ruled upon. Okay. But there are just a lot of things now that are being struck down. And because of this, Treasury yield rates have been skyrocketing. And this is exactly the opposite of what the government wants. Because it's going to cost us a lot more money to borrow more money and to return money to those that we owe money to, aka bond holders. So this is really bad. So now we're really looking forward to that rate cut that's coming later this month, right? We're going to get a rate cut this month, but how many more are we going to get? We're going to get 2 more afterwards. That's what everyone's hoping, right? And later this week, we will get some more data, jobs report and unemployment report. Those will be coming out Thursday and Friday. It will give us a clearer picture of how the U.S. economy is. At this point, we do need more. We do need more good news, let's say. We need some good news. There's too many macro fears right now. There's just too much all around. I don't know, this is a good time. For Gemini, which is one of the major exchanges in the US, they're filing for IPO. This is probably not a good time to be doing so. But they are. And recently we had a lot of great crypto companies go IPO and do very well. But maybe they should wait a month or so. Anyways, right now, yeah, we are, like I said, not in a great spot for Bitcoin, but not horrible either, okay? And if you've been through a couple years or a couple cycles, you know that corrections are always happening. And a lot of times they're healthy, okay? Even though when you live through it, no one wants to hear that. No one wants to believe that any correction is healthy, that all corrections are bad. But hey, that's how you can load up on cheap Bitcoin, right? And plus, nothing goes up forever linearly There's always dips and valleys, and that's how things work. So if you look at some of the metrics, things are actually quite healthy. We're about 12% down from top. We've had 15% dips in this cycle. It happens all the time, okay? But we got a lot of great things going on, and a lot of these metrics are showing that this is a reversal point. MVRV, Bollinger Bands, there are a lot of things that are showing that we are ready to reverse after this correction, okay? So, you know what? Whenever you feel like, man, all hope is lost, okay? A lot of people feel that way because we're in September. Because September is historically a bad month for stocks and crypto. But you just don't know. Last year was the same thing. Last year, everyone was even more depressed because back in September, Bitcoin was still like at $50,000, $60,000. Okay? But we actually had a green month. And then we followed up the terrific October and November, right? So don't be discouraged. Just follow what you've been doing, okay? Which is holding and DCAing. That's all you need to do. Do not panic. When you panic, that's when things go wrong. Yeah, and speaking of metrics, there are more things that just show there are a lot of opportunities for Bitcoin to reverse. RSI is another one. I mean, there are just a lot of them, okay? And besides just metrics and charts, okay, of course, the fundamentals, okay, keeps on getting stronger. For example, the holders keep on accumulating. That's what we want to see. Look, I mean, in fact, look at this. While I've been talking, look at this, okay? You just don't know sometimes. You really don't. But like I've been saying, fundamentals are getting better. Investors are holding, long-term holders are holding, public trade companies are holding and buying. Global ETFs now hold 7% of the supply. That's not really a good thing, but short term it is because it shows you that not everyone is dumping, right? A large portion of the circulating supply is held by ETFs. But long term, if the ETFs continue to hold more and more and more, that's bad. We don't want ETFs to hold like 50% of Bitcoin supply. That would be horrendous. Bitcoin is meant for the people, right? So you don't want to get scared and sell all your Bitcoin away to all these big boys. That's not what you want to do. El Salvador is having the first state-backed conference with Jack Mallers and Max Kaiser. No surprise, some of the big names in the space. El Salvador continues to DCA as well, 1 Bitcoin per day. And there are times they just buy a little bit more. And they hold like $500 million, maybe even more than that now in Bitcoin. It's never too late. Never too late to get in. Metaplanet, also, they've been buying and buying and buying. They're going to restructure, kind of like, you know, strategy. Basically, they're going to authorize additional shares, and then they're going to be able to offer and sell shares or more shares in order to buy more Bitcoin. No surprise. No surprise. Right? And of course, Saylor, not to be outdone, decided to buy another 4,000 Bitcoin, close to $500 million. Now they have 636,000 Bitcoin. And Saylor's never going to stop at this point. So, in terms of fundamentals, okay, probably the most important one is basically how many people are still buying. The accumulation, the addresses, the overall supply, how much of that is removed, how much of it is still being bought and continues to be healthy, okay? Just last week, we had 5,300 Bitcoin being bought, 6 new treasuries launched, that's 6 brand new companies, and that's that's ones that we know of. Okay, there's plenty more that's buying Bitcoin that we don't know of. These are the ones that just like actively reported, and there's so many more, right? This is good. This is very good. Another fundamental that not a whole lot of people talk about is the hash rate. Okay, the miners, are they still hashing? Are they still securing the network? Are they pushing forward mining? And the answer is yes, because the hash rate continues to go up. This is basically how difficult it is, okay, or how much power they're using to solve this Bitcoin equation for mining. And it's at all-time high, basically. Okay, so despite the fact that the price may have come down from all-time high, these miners continue to do their job and secure the network and make it even more secure. As the hash goes upwards and the difficulty goes up, it makes it better for the network and harder for anyone to ever try to hack it, which at this point would be nearly impossible. So just think about that. Think about that. So can a major reversal happen? Yeah, most definitely. There are a lot of charts that's showing that there are signs after this normal, healthy correction. What's coming next? A reversal. So we'll see. We will see. Now, it's not just Bitcoin, of course. You have a lot of other crypto out there like ETH that's still surprisingly holding very strong. Sol is getting stronger. You got others like World Liberty Financial that just launched, although I'm not sure how great of a project this is, but because Trump and his family are backing it, it's worth a lot. And now Trump's family is $6 billion richer because of their portion of the tokens that launched, which is staggering. That's just a whole lot. But outside of that, Ethereum, continues to be strong. Inflow is still okay, even though we turned negative. Inflow is still massive overall on the ETFs. They're getting rid of their old testnet. They're going to introduce their new testnet, and there's a whole bunch of activity happening on ETH right now, especially with the buying. But hey, Solana is also getting strong. In fact, World Liberty Financial, I forgot about this. They have their own stablecoin, USD1, that's launched on Solana. And Solana has a new prediction market. Their Jupiter DEX is still sky high. I mean, they got a whole bunch of stuff happening on Solana, and they're generating a whole bunch of revenue, more than basically any other chain out there. And that's despite the fact that their transaction fees are way lower too. So good. And same thing, like Sui, one of my favorites. Their DEX volume is basically skyrocketing at this point. People only tend to focus, again, on price. But if you look at, this is what's part of fundamentals. DEX volume is the highest ever. And they have this new deep book that they just launched as well. I mean, there's a whole lot of stuff that's going on everywhere. You just have to pay attention. There's a lot of great things going on. It's hard only focusing on price because sometimes price goes down. But when you look at the fundamentals, you realize that they are still great. We will get past this dip, okay? And we will push forward. In fact, Bitcoin is doing pretty well right now, despite the U.S. market tanking. Minus 500 now, but you can see Bitcoin up about $1,200 since yesterday. Looks like it wants to continue too. And ETH is, coming up, not quite to 4,400 yet, but Sol has now come above 200 once again. I just talked about Sui, about 326. XRP hanging in there, about 280. And Link at 23. But stocks, stocks are really, really red today. All right. That's pretty much it. Look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin just wants to continue forward. Today actually may be a good recovery day. All right, let's do some Q&A. Almost back to 111. I think a lot of people panic sold before the long weekend. But now they're panic buying back. If you look at, there's a big level to clear right here, 111.4. I'm almost certain that we will clear the shorts over there. And then we'll probably go up a little bit higher. We may end up at like 113 today. Or maybe a little bit below 113. And then if you look at the data, I know everyone tends to focus that September is a bad month, but let's not forget the last 2 years were green. And last September, even though 7% isn't that impressive, was the best September ever for Bitcoin. Think about that. The best September we've ever had for Bitcoin. And that happened last year too. And that was coming off of a bad August, just like us. Although, you got to think about it, August was only bad because we had 4 consecutive green months. Nothing goes up forever. You don't see any year where it's like 12 months of green. It doesn't happen. Okay? Even the best years, you tend to have like what? 9 months? 8 months of green? There's no 12 straight months of green. Okay? And so far, we only had 3 months of red so far. Yeah, I'll just leave this up. This is a good graphic to show. All right. Someone asks, is VeChain going to hit all-time high? I'm not so sure. I like to think so, but they've really gone in a different direction since previous years. So really focus just on the better system. That's really all I hear about. So I don't know. Maybe they still can. Paul says, Kramer said weak September. Well, that's good news. Inverse Kramer tends to be right all the time. Can I cover SPX 6900? No, I will not. And what is there to cover? It's a meme coin. Mo asked a very important question. Hey, George, from your car collection, which car would you consider getting rid of for the Audi RS6? I don't really know. I've been thinking about that recently. Do I really want to get an RS6, especially for winter? Probably not. But if I did, what car would I get rid of? I don't know. I mean, the 2 spare cars I have I could get rid of is either my Jeep My Wrangler 392 or my Lexus LC500 convertible. I mean, I'm not going to be using the convertible in the winter, but it's nice to drive it with the top down, like especially now. The Jeep is probably my least expensive car. I enjoy driving it, but I don't think the family enjoys it all that much. So maybe I would get rid of the Jeep for it, but I just got the Jeep, so I don't know. It'd be kind of stupid. Drake, and your thoughts on Cosmos? Predictions, good invest? No, not at this point. There are better investments. I don't really, until Cosmos fixes their economics, I don't think they could do well. Am I a 70% plus free throw shooters? I don't know. I don't know. Yes, my Cybertruck is my daily driver. You know, surprisingly, I don't see a lot of the new Forerunners, especially TRD Pros around where I am. But when I was in Hawaii, like every fifth car was a Forerunner, and a lot of new Forerunners. They love Wranglers and Forerunners out there. Blissfully dissatisfied. I don't know how you got scammed in Discord. Although there are a lot of impersonators that DM people all the time in Discord. That's out of our control. Those people are not even in our servers. They somehow can DM people. So whenever you join a server, any Discord server, don't ever respond to DMs. Either I or anyone else from my team, from Crypto Pulse, will DM you. And that goes for any Discord server. That's a ongoing problem with basically everyone's server. Basically, what you want to do is turn your DMs off. That way you know for sure that you're not going to get scammed. And I don't know what happened with you. But feel free to type in a Discord and get some help. What's your favorite basketball move? I used to be a post player. I like playing the post. I used to really love watching the centers work, but that no longer happens. Jokic has some decent moves. He has good footwork, but he still plays below the rim, not like the guys from the 90s or 2000s. Oh, look at that. 111-1. Looking pretty good. Pretty good today. Despite the U.S. market sell-off. We're still pretty red, but oh, look at that. MicroStrategy turned green. Coinbase turned green. People are turning to crypto right now. They're like, screw stocks. Let's just go all in on crypto. No, I was never a Karl Malone fan. I didn't like him in Stockton. I hated them, in fact. And everyone says Stockton was like the dirtiest player ever. And Karl Malone has some not so good stories about what he did back in the day. So I was never a fan of those guys. I loved watching, all the big men like Olajuwon and especially Shaq. I was really into Shaq. I remember morning when he came out as a rookie, started dominating right away. He's a very undersized rookie. And then all the other, like Ewing and Robinson, and then Duncan came in, and you got a lot of good centers back in the day. This is a pretty good move right now. I wonder. I think we are probably going to hit at least like 112, 113 today. I think that's gonna happen. If we hit 113, we'll be right back here, which is where we were just a few days ago. What, Thursday? Clip City, you're a PSA grader? Wow. Wow. Man, those PSA grading has blown up so much from years ago. That's an interesting job. That's a really interesting job. I remember Theo Ratliff. I remember Yao Ming. I was a big fan of Yao Ming too. That reminds me. When he first came in the league, he was kind of soft, and then he had to, really harden himself and realize that, hey, it's a man's league. You can't just be like, at 7'6", you can't be bullied around. And then he started building some strength and started dunking on people. His best dunk ever was over Theo Ratcliffe. He backed him down, dunked on his face, and yelled at him, and then he got a technical foul. That was still the best dunk. I still remember that. Oh, I'm supposed to be getting my car lift today in the afternoon. I'm waiting for that. They were supposed to come on Friday, and then, of course, they called off, and they're like, oh, we can't come. People called off. I think the owner just called off. Kind of pissed me off, and he didn't call me back until I called him. So hopefully they actually come out today, and I get a car lift. Then I have an extra spot in the garage. Coinbase turned green. That's very positive. But others have not. I need everything to turn green. Today, NASDAQ is still deep red, but things are turning around. MicroStrategy is turning around. Today's a good crypto recovery day. I just don't know what's going to happen with this. As the Supreme Court shuts down the tariffs, I wonder what Trump and Bessent and Lutnick they're going to do. Right now, Bessent is like, yeah, no worry, Supreme Court will rule, uphold Trump's tariffs. But if they do not, this is the whole game plan, right? The whole leverage over other countries to play fair and for us to generate more revenue is these tariffs. And we can't have them. Do you think Trump's health issues could be a black swan event? I've been thinking about that. I hear a lot of rumors. Even today, there's supposed to be like some kind of special white Oval Office announcement. People haven't seen Trump in person for like a week now, and that never happens. And he posted a fake photo of him on a golf course with Gruden, and that was from like a week ago. So people are really concerned about his health. And I was thinking, would it be better if Vance took over and And I honestly think no. I don't think it would be better if Vance took over. So, I don't know. I don't know how the market will react. If he had to step down and Vance took over, I don't know if Wall Street's going to see that as a good thing. Yeah, I just don't. I just don't. Why is every president like 9 years old? Well, he's like 80 years old. It would be nice if we had some younger presidents, okay? Like maybe like 50s, you know. 50s would be good. Doesn't always have to be 60s or 70s. Yeah, we're still going. Obama was young when he took off. How old was Obama when he took off? I mean, he's still pretty young, I think. I think he's only in his 60s right now. So you might be right. Yeah, I'm not so sure why, most presidents are like so old when they take office. I guess you just need a years of like, being in Congress or the Senate, and then you have to like win the majority votes, and you got to get the favor of the party, and then you got to make sure you could raise enough money. I mean, there's a whole process. Becoming president is probably the hardest thing to do of any position, um, probably in the world, especially U.S. president. It's near impossible that someone out of the blue, like a independent, can just run and then win. I guess. That's the genius of Trump because he figured it out. He's the one that did it twice. So yesterday, this is a side note, has nothing to do with anything. Yesterday I went fishing with the family. Uh, why is fishing so aggravating? First of all, we were there for like 3, 4 hours, no fish. That's fine. That's not what's aggravating. Why are fishing poles and rods and reels so damn difficult to work with? Um, the lines keep jamming up, and they're impossible to untangle. You have to cut it and then redo the whole thing. And why can't they just create better fishing rods and reels? I mean, why can't they just create a modern version where it doesn't get stuck, it gets thrown out there, it retracts, that's it? Um, it's like so archaic. It's like, from 100 years ago. Go fly fishing, maybe. I don't know. I've been fishing on boats before. Um, Man, the rough waters, I can't stand it. Before I could. Now I can't anymore. Stop buying rods on Temu. I got my rods on Amazon. The rod's not the problem. It's the reel. And, you know, the spool in the reel, like the one I got wasn't covered. So it's like open. So then if the line is too like loose, it just tangles up. And then the one I got doesn't have the push button. So when you throw it out, you have to like, you know, you have to just like watch out and hold it with your hand to throw it out. I mean, it's just like a whole complicated thing. And then I ended up renting some better rods and reels from this local place. And it was still, it was okay, but then the lines still get tangled. Like when you have to put the feed or whatever, and then somehow it's dangling around, it gets caught on a branch or something. Like there's always something that's going on. It was just not a pleasant experience. I'm just ranting. But at least the kids enjoyed it for the most part until they got discouraged because we didn't catch one fish yesterday. No one did. It was just like this pond. It seemed like all the fish were sleeping or something. Randy says I fish every day. Wow. For pleasure or for business? That's a lot. That's a lot of fishing. Yeah, we liquidated the shorts over here. You can see 111.4. We have come back down. So I don't know if we're going to push back up. If we keep pushing, we could definitely go to 112, 113s. If we just settle here in the middle, then we will be where we are now. Salmon are running here. Good times, free food. You know, I enjoy good salmon every so often, but I can't eat it all the time. It's it's a little too greasy for me. Oh. Yeah, I know omega-3 is good, but I still can't do it. I get too, sick of oils. Even with steak too. I don't like to eat steak all that much anymore. I ate too much of it. But I'll enjoy good salmon. You know, I used to hate salmon because I've always ate like very cooked salmon. And then I had some good salmon where it's like more pink on the inside, and I said, "Oh man, this is the best thing." And then I just ate too much of it. And now I'll still eat it every so often. Did MicroStrategy get listed? Get accepted to S&P 500? Is that why they're up so much today? Well, not so much, like 2%. Yeah, I could eat prime rib all day long. I love prime rib. If I go to a steak place and they have prime rib, I will get that. Prime rib, I love the outside. I don't know what you call it, where it's more fatty. That is like the perfect cut. Inside the prime rib, not so much of a fan because it's too dry. But the outside, the fatty part, is the best part of the prime rib. The gristle. Yeah, that's like the best. Is it the gristle or the rib cap? I don't know what you call it. The outside of the prime rib. Would you ever buy a yacht? No, I'm not a big water guy. I don't care for a yacht. I'd much rather buy a private jet than a yacht. Like, water is just not my thing. I don't mind being on a yacht. You know, I don't mind hanging out on the beach, but like, you know, this water life that people love, I don't get it. I saw randomly on Facebook Marketplace, I guess these emergency ambulance airplanes, they exist, and a decommissioned one is being sold for like a normally a $15 million jet is being sold for like 2.5 million. Inside is not very nice, is because it's more like beds. I'm like, man, that's a good deal, but it's being sold on Facebook Marketplace. Just weird. Yeah, I'm not sure I would go scuba diving. All right, I think that's pretty much it. Overall, it's pretty darn good so far. Let's see if it can continue. Again, you know, when fear is really, really high, that's when we tend to reverse. Actually, you know, there was really no reason for us to have such a panic selling on Friday and throughout this weekend. Nothing has really changed. Macro conditions maybe a little bit iffy, but Bitcoin and crypto as strong as ever. So stay strong, my friends. Continue to hold on DCA if you can. And we will get through this together. Just because it's September doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be bad. Last 2 years were green. Remember that. All right. I will see you guys tonight. Take care. Bye-bye.